Welcome to the Crew and You. We got a Q&A today. You asked, we answer.
Okay, here we go. To what extent should the gospel transform culture, and to what extent should we respect it?
I don't know what respect it means, but I will say, to what extent should the gospel transform culture? In every extent, the gospel has something to say about every aspect of our life, either through direct lines of what the Bible says or implications of wisdom of how to apply it. I wonder if by respecting culture, it's maybe an idea of like being more careful to not impose or to just let things be. Maybe in terms of political things and stuff like that.
I know, maybe we need to reframe the question to not have to guess as much, but I think the gospel in and of itself is transformative. So
Right,
the
it
gospel
always-
does transform. We're designed to need and be redeemed through the gospel. So then the gospel is able to immerse itself in all things.
Right.
And also all these things, arts, culture, music, everything in culture is from God and can be used for God. So it would make sense for Christians should be leaders in all these things in culture. Whether I'm like, in my mind, I'm like hearing music through this question, but of all areas of culture.
Yeah, like the gospel or good Christian work or Christians doing music, writing laws, making movies, running restaurants, whatever. The gospel should certainly make its way into how a Christian lives out their sphere of influence, and makes a difference in every aspect of life.
So we should be less reactive to culture and more proactive with the transformative work of the gospel.
Yes, exactly. I guess that's one way to think about it.
Like we should be creators, we should be the designers, we should be the able to lead out
Right.
in these things and not just always respond and react to what's going on.
Right. Yeah, and I don't think there's any sense you can respect people, but not I guess you would say any culture that is outside the kingdom of God would be inherently ungodly. So it might have redeemable aspects to it, but there's not something outside of God's will we should, so to speak, respect. So we respect people, we give them honor and dignity. But the gospel, basically you could say like the truth is true everywhere you go, and there's nothing greater than that. So if the gospel is the truth of the world, of salvation, of God, of humans, and then the world is basically full of lies, like everywhere else, and promoted by the father of lies, you'd say, well, the gospel then introduces the truth into every arena of life. Yeah. So there's nowhere the gospel goes that the gospel is not right and should not have an effect on the world around it. We should live with that kind of confidence. Yeah.
What did you just say that all of it is lies? Everything in culture apart from God is lies.
Right.
But do you feel like that is a bit of an overstatement as far as like again, the Lord's design and creation and goodness is in all things. It's
Sure.
not necessarily apart from God to, I don't know, let's say go look at beautiful architecture or
Yeah.
to make music with a melody that it's not necessarily full of lies a lot of the world. Do you understand like there's a distinction there that I'm wondering
Well, I
about?
wouldn't put like a musical melody in a lie or unlie category.
Yeah, it just felt like you said everything is a lie apart from.
Just that, yeah, there is one truth and everything else is a lie. There's not two truths or four.
Absolute truth.
There's just one. The gospel is the truth.
Yeah.
It is the true story of the world, the true story of humanity, the true story of God, true story of eternity.
And many things reflect God.
Sure. And whatever comes under alignment with that. So when I do music to the glory of God, whatever that looks like, it doesn't mean I sing the whole song about God all the time, but then I'm doing it in alignment with who God is, what God does. But just the idea of saying that the gospel has something to say about everywhere because it's the truth. That's all I'm saying. And the world is under the Bible tells us the world is under the leadership of the devil. So he's the prince of the world. It's obviously that's under the leadership of God, but God has given the devil some reign or authority for now. So, and he's the father of lies. All he's doing is propagating lies. So the idea being that there's lies being told to the world in every arena of life. But then the gospel counters that by bringing truth into media, truth into food and restaurants, truth into cleaning, truth into all these environments.
Whatever you do, do unto the Lord, which is a great verse on all those things.
Yeah, that's right. Whether you eat or drink, whatever you do, do it all to the glory of God.
Yeah. Makes everything purposeful and transformative with the gospel. Okay, what do you do if you want to open your home to foster and adoption, but your husband is pretty decided on not doing it?
I mean, that's a short answer. I would say you don't do it. That's certainly something you'd have to be in agreement on. And for the wife, I mean, the only thing you can really do is pray and ask that the Lord would change his heart or that you guys could get on the same page. But you certainly can't move forward with something this serious that requires so much effort or life not being on the same page. That would just...
Yeah, I think what we say, that maybe Jason Johnson said, so definitely look up his work, but is that like you don't have to be on the same page, but you have to be reading the same book. And you both, and if it's a situation where a lot of husbands are hesitant or doubtful or not the one leading the charge in these things, but if they're open, willing, receptive, then sometimes the husband needs to lead their family by following the prompting that the wife is having, and just take the next step and see. But if it's a situation where the husband is unwilling, then it would not be well for anyone involved. The wife will need incredible support and teamwork and partnership. The child will need a father in the home who is on board and fully in. It is an incredibly immersive role that really taps into the deepest parts of yourself and your family and your home and your life, and you need to be united and on the same page, because even if you start united, there are things that will be tempted to challenge that, and so you need to start united. So pray and then do what you can do. Get involved, become a CASA, get close to a foster family, offer support.
That's a great point. Other ways to get involved than to be the foster parent. Right?
Yeah, and see what can happen through that, but baby steps and lots of prayer. And then just trust in the Lord that that's not what God has for your family right now.
Yeah, in that moment for your family, that particular way of doing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we believe James 1:27, the call to care for the orphan and widow in their distress is for everyone, but that is carried out in different ways for different people. So you can trust if your husband is totally off board, this probably isn't what God has for you right now, so find some rest and peace in that and do what you can. Just do something.
You still got to obey the command, but you don't have to do it in that particular way that would require both of you to be on the same page.
Best advice for using the time between dating and marriage, the season of being engaged, to build a strong foundation for the first year of marriage.
Best advice for using that engagement season.
Yeah, actually,
to build a strong foundation for marriage.
I feel semi-passionate about this because I feel like so many
Semi,
couples,
not all the way, but not nothing.
So many couples, whether intentionally or reactively, focus on wedding planning, and that is like a full-time job. Not to discount that. And I didn't particularly love wedding planning, so take it with a grain of salt that that's like not something I enjoy spending time on, or I didn't at least then. But so they spend a lot of time on that and lose sight of what really matters. That's like one day, and you have your whole life together. And so I would say, number one, look how you invest your time together before the Lord. Set rhythms that, you're not married yet, but set rhythms of honest communication, spiritual communication, conversations together. Look at where you're using self-control with each other in every way, in your words towards each other, in your reactions to each other, how you're resolving conflict, serve together. And then I want people to know it is not over until it's over. Look out for the red flags. Engagement does bring out a high level of stress often. And I think a lot of couples feel like we made it this far. There's no turning back now. It's just because the wedding stress. No, like how you deal with stress is incredibly impactful for the duration. Totally. Is actually one of the maybe lesser stressful seasons of your life, potentially.
And view of your whole
potentially
life.
for what's ahead.
Yeah.
So how you guys are dealing with stress separately, together, how you're seeking the Lord or not really matters. And it is not too late to say, never mind. It might cost you some money. It might be confusing to other people, but
Costs you a lot more money to get divorced, but yes.
there's no way to articulate how impactful marriage is and who you marry is.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's the second biggest decision if you choose to get married. If not, there's another thing. But if you choose to get married, that's the second biggest decision of your life. You choose to follow Jesus, then who you marry affects so much.
It is worse to be miserably married than to be single, longing to be married. I think that's unanimous for people.
Well, 100% in our counseling of others or seeing how this plays out in people's
And that's
lives.
not to live in fear or to doubt. Marriage is like the biggest gift. We love it so much. Truly the biggest grace of God and gift in my life. Most days.
Aw, that's so sweet. Most days. She means like 99.9% of the days.
Yes. But we have walked through so much with so many people, and we've walked through a lot ourselves. And so just want people to know that this is like so valuable, so worth fighting for, but it shouldn't be miserable. You shouldn't be fighting all the time. This is like one of your things.
Oh, that's one of my big phrases. I say, if dating is hard, don't get married. And that is so true. And I will ring that bell from the hilltops.
But define hard.
Hard being like you're fighting consistently, like every week. There's always issues, always conflicts to work through, always drama. Things are like, sometimes you're like, why are you dating? It's that idea. And sometimes when people be like, well, we're learning how to deal with conflict. I'm like, that should be something that you learn progressively over time in moments, not a practice that you implement every week. Like I'm fixing my golf swing by just getting in a fight every week. So if dating's hard, don't get married, because dating, no matter what may be going on, is the easiest relational season you're going to have, because you can get out if you want, because there is no real commitment before God, because you haven't maybe had kids yet, or life hasn't gotten complicated yet. So
Nothing's combined yet. You part ways all the time.
totally. You have space, you get space. Yeah.
You have your own lives. Yeah.
If dating is hard, don't get married.
Now, I'd like to give disclaimers that there are hard things that come up in dating.
Totally.
There are relationships,
No, 100%. Yes.
Yes, there are
Yes.
lines here. This is not a blanket statement. But if you're miserably dating and feel like, oh, this is like relationships are hard work. No, like you don't have to be, it doesn't, no.
It shouldn't be
Or
that
get
hard.
counseling separate. If you are finding every relationship you're in, you're struggling with conflict. If this is the only type of relationship you know is like high conflict, high argument, high misery, then like explore that. Yeah.
Also, I mean, get premarital counseling. I don't know, state the obvious. Get an objective perspective, a third party involved, a pastor, a mentor. Obviously at City Light we do premarital counseling. It's just, you don't just like look at each other and like go get married. Like get somebody to ask you tough questions and to give you God's vision for marriage and prepare the way. Obviously that phrase I use a lot too is purity brings clarity. So we know how hard that can be to fight that battle, but to pursue purity at all costs, because it's going to give your relationship a ton of clarity. And sometimes people are involved with the wrong person just because the lack of purity has really blurred all the other issues that would be obvious. So if you do have a season of sustained purity, sometimes you get way more clarity about whether this person's right or whether some of the issues were attached to some of that. So it's a huge part. It's the fight for that in your own personal life there.
And the flip side is probably engagement does just bring out anxiety, even for people that should be getting married, that are like tempered enough to say, okay, this is my whole life. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
So know where, just have people speaking into your life, be seeking the Lord personally, to have wisdom into, this is a fear I'm fighting that is not based in reason, ration, or anyone's concern for me or our relationship, but just a fear I have about making such a big decision, versus like, there's some stop steps here that like, this really maybe shouldn't continue. Like there's a difference there. So that's why you need wisdom into your relationship, to know both parties having people individually and united as a couple.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
We have a lot to say, I guess.
I guess, the last thing too is that people marry someone expecting them not to change. So the idea being that, like, obviously, if anybody's mature, they're gonna grow. But people are pretty much who they are as a whole for their whole life. So a lot of times people make the mistake of thinking that being married to them would make an issue go away, or the other person's gonna grow, or there's potential. They marry potential.
Yes.
Do not marry potential. Okay, marry provability. To say, just imagine if the person keeps all the flaws they have now, if they talk to you like they talk to you now, if they handle stress like they handle stress now, just imagine being married to that person forever without that person changing. And then the question is, okay, is that good? Like, can you accept those flaws? Can you navigate those realities? Can you be patient with those blemishes? Are those the kinds of things you can put up with?
Yeah.
And not expecting any of that to change, all the while knowing any mature person in Christ will grow. But
100%. You can't change anyone, and don't try.
no, if how they're behaving now is driving you crazy, they're gonna drive you crazy then, and worse. So, don't marry potential.
Yeah.
Make them prove it. Yeah.
There's so much here. Okay. Should we go to singleness or should we go to marriage? Which direction? We started at engaged.
Wow. Let's go back to singleness.
Okay. How can the church do a better job of supporting and caring for those who are single? I see so often the church puts marriage and families on pedestals, and those who are single can feel not important or as cared for because they don't have a family. I think this is valuable because no church should have this be the case.
Yeah.
And I want to empathize with how this could feel, that there's young adult ministries, there's kids ministries that families are often engaged in, and then there's single adults. Sure. And then the pastor is often married, speaking from a place of marriage. Often, yeah. And so there's reason for singles to feel this, and there's no biblical reason for this to be the case.
Yeah, I think, there's two questions, is how can the church do better at validating that or encouraging those people in those seasons. And there's also just the going back to the idea of what does the Bible say about singleness, and how does God think about that, and then how can the church kind of navigate that? Because obviously, first off, Paul is 1 Corinthians 7. He's advocating for singleness in terms of, like, he knows marriage is good, but he's saying if you're unmarried, you can be totally devoted to the Lord. And just the idea, and even from a pastor wanting to say, like, singleness is a gift. It's a gift from God. Even if you don't want it right now, it is a gift that allows you to be totally devoted to God without any distractions. And so there's something great there. Obviously, Jesus, our Lord and Savior, was single. So there's nothing better about marriage and nothing bad about being single. So the Bible affirms both as wonderful tools to be able to share the gospel or have influence in the world or trust in Jesus. So, like Ephesians 5, marriage is a picture of the gospel. So it's very valuable. It's important. 1 Corinthians 7, being unmarried allows you to just serve the Lord without considering anything else. And that's something valuable as well. So just to say, both those things are valuable. Now, obviously, a lot of church functional ministries are family oriented. As they reach neighborhoods, all those different things like that. Or young adult ministries can have singleness kind of wrapped into it, so to speak. A lot of people get married and they leave the young adult ministry. So once you're not necessarily a young adult anymore, it can be like a difficult season to say, where do I find myself? And I think one of the things to consider in a church that should do this well is the idea being that the church itself should exist multi-generationally. So there are ministries like for kids, there are ministries for youth, there are ministries for certain things. But the church as a whole, and especially what we call like lighthouses or groups that meet during the week, ideally would be multi-generational, meaning that single people find their families in the context of other families or other single people or younger or older, saying that we're all a big family doing this together. And also the idea that, because what should a church do? Should a church make a ministry for, let's say, older singles? Maybe that's right. Maybe it's not. I mean, it's certainly not a requirement. Maybe that's the best way to do it. I don't know. But the idea being that even if there's not a ministry like catered towards you, you still have a ministry. Meaning that you still have a calling of God in the world. You still have things the church would love to equip you to go do and to encourage you to go do. and to live out. So, but I think the best place for people to find themselves, and what most churches do with small groups, is within a community of believers that is hopefully within your neighborhood or region, that would hopefully be old and young, families and non-families. And I think families should do a much better job of bringing in single people to be a part of their world, to kind of include it as a whole.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, do we want to answer how have you helped each other become more like Jesus through your marriage?
Primarily by pointing out one another's flaws and revealing how much of a sinner we are. Mainly her pointing out my flaws.
Blank stare.
My wife has no flaws. She has become like Jesus.
I'll just stare him down until he says something.
Yeah, just by dealing with me, I mean, there's so many things to this. I would say one is we choose a way of life that forces us as a whole to trust Jesus. So getting into things that might be difficult, trying to serve God in hard ways, trying to sacrifice things for the Lord, trying to live the Jesus way together, certainly conforms us into the image of Christ, choosing a way of life that is much more than just like going to church or being churchy, but requires taking up our cross and following Jesus and doing that together. I think is a huge way we grow to become more like Christ.
I think from the beginning, I felt like you were, I'm like not words of affirmation, and this feels like,
oh my goodness.
But he is words of affirmation, so you're welcome.
Are you're throwing up with the idea of thinking of saying something nice about me? Is that what was just communicated?
No, like on. I think you're a good husband now. Okay, that was a little too much. So now I do legitimately have an ick and might not say the nice things I was gonna say.
It's really hard for her to say nice things about me.
That's not true. Okay. That you from the beginning were like tangible hands and feet of Jesus, where you really showed me what it was like to be patient, to be loving, to be steadfast, to be unshaken, to be unwavering, to really walk through things, which going back to the engaged question is like the pick someone who you want to suffer with.
Yeah.
And I would say you had those characteristics early, and that has proven true of just someone you want to endure things with. Obviously someone you want to celebrate things with too, but that comes very easy with a wider range of people than who you want to go through hard times with. So I think in those ways still, even when I'm wrong and not handling things well, typically his ability to stay level-headed and bite his tongue and stay calm and bring me to a calmer place. Kind of that like co-regulation we've talked about of like kind of joining with the Lord to be who he wants us to be in the same way. Our kids need us to join with them to get to where they need to be. You also in that have helped with that. And so there are these tangible expressions that help like kind of disarm our humanity to say, okay, Lord, I'm going to be able to seek you because I see what it's like for you to be good to me when he is so good to me. And
just keep it coming. I didn't know the question meant the results of that. I think this is great.
Right? It's asking how do you...
I guess so. I was thinking more like the means as opposed to the other person's done this really well. Yeah.
So I would say that helped my nearness to know the Lord and seek him in the way that you were able to handle me. Obviously the Lord, it was a tangible
can help you handle you far better, right? Yeah.
Yes. And then, I just think the sanctifying work often in marriage, when one of us is up, the other's down and vice versa. And like, it's more rare for both of us to be down or,
right.
Whatever. So the ability to kind of pluck each other out and keep perspective and keep knowing the Lord and seeing things through his lens, and no matter how that like seesaw teeters of who's down and up is really valuable, which all starts with just our own individual relationship with the Lord.
No, I think that's like having my faith fueled by your faith in terms of your own walk with God, having always been, as long as I've known you, very real and legitimate to you, and you pursuing that and watching you pursue that. It certainly fires me up and encourages me in terms of like you setting a good example for me and me seeing that lived out. and able to like learn and grow from that.
And just tangibly, practically, I think because it's a priority to both of us, which is not the case in every marriage. And there's definitely room to say, like, hey, if your spouse is not where you're at spiritually or supportive of that post marriage, like, let's talk. But in our case, with both of us prioritizing that, there is a lot of room for, like, hey, how can you get quiet time with the Lord? How can you just supporting those things that are primary, have really obviously helped. Like, you have to see those things as valuable for their soul,
Totally,
for your marriage, and for your life, and whatever it takes.
Yeah, I think that's right. And helping to support one another to grow in that and give them space to do that. And usually, I think, obviously, we're two different people. So even when people are like, let's just say you're way more compassionate than I am, for example. And so let's just say, hypothetically, if this were the case, that Kristen is more compassionate, that refines me in terms of like helping me grow in that particular area, or seeing what that looks like for you to live that out, or even being challenged of my lack of compassion or something. So when you're married to someone who's godly and pursuing God, they're going to exemplify things you don't, which are going to, hopefully in the right way, challenge and help you grow. So
amazing. We have so many questions. People really came through with anonymous questions. So there will be more
need faster answers
next time.
Thanks for joining us at The Crew and You. If you asked a question we didn't answer it yet, you'll probably get it answered next week. Okay, stay tuned. As always, we want to walk with you as God works in you and through you. See you later.